This is Terry. This is Terry's Shoe Store, where she specializes in custom shoes and shoe repair. This is Terry's Workshop, where all the magic happens. You know what they say, all work and no play. When she's not hard at work, this is where you'll find her. And this is Terry's YouTube channel.
Aloha from Hawaii. This is Terry again. You're in my workshop. Today is going to be a how-to on fixing a Birkenstock. I happen to be the only one in Maui that does Birkenstock repair, which is awesome. And so this is kind of the worst condition I've ever seen for a sandal. And as you can see, this Birkenstock, he has worn through this side so much that it's just virtually into the footbed. It is in the footbed there. This is the one side here, as well as this one. You can see he has worn down almost all of the sole. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a heat gun. I'm going to take off this initial sole. This is the original Birkenstock sole. I'm going to use a little bit of cork, and I'm going to build that back up again, layer by layer, and sand it, sculpting it basically to build the shoe back up again, which is awesome. And then once that's done, I'm going to go ahead and I've got some Birkenstock soling material, which is really great. It lasts a really long time. It's got that nice tread on it. And it's about a ½ inch thick. That'll be nice. I'll glue that onto the shoe when I'm done building it. I'll sand everything down, including this cork, to bring back the natural light shade of the cork. I'm also going to do a luxury polish on this. So I'll add some conditioner, some cream wax, and some regular wax polish, and it'll look basically brand new, but it'll still have the shape of his foot that's been molded into the shoe, which is why people love Birkenstocks. So thanks for joining me, and here we go. So I went ahead and sanded this shoe down. Anybody can do that. You can take a little sandpaper at home, get it nice and smooth. That's what we want to get the old stuff off. And I'm going to build up this corner here on the side. It's been worn out pretty thoroughly, and so I cut a little piece of cork. It comes from any kind of cork, the kind you put on your wall for pin cushions or whatever. It's the same thing. Mine's a little bit thicker. But if you're using a thinner one, you can just layer it up. I'm going to use a couple of layers on mine as well. He's going to need it. So putting a little bit of my contact cement on both sides, and the key to contact cement that I remind everybody is glue both surfaces, let them dry before you put them together. That's how contact cement works. So there's one. I'll do the same to the other side, and I'm pretty good at eyeballing it, but you could just set the shoe on the edge. I can see how much I need. I'm going to cut off a nice little square because I'm actually going to sand this down once I'm done with it. And like I said, I'll put another layer on there. Just cut this piece here. There we go. And I'm going to put a bit of that glue on that surface there. I love contact cement. It's so easy to work with leather, with cork, all kinds of materials. You can just kind of sculpt with it. You can glue it, sand it, sculpt it to the shape that you need, and it's so pliable. I love it. The key is, of course, getting the consistency and letting it dry before you put it together. So I think that's pretty good. I'm going to check the toes on his shoe. And everything's pretty good. So there we go. Let it dry, and I'll come back, put it together, and sand it. Another thing I like to do when I am working on Birkenstocks, I find over age, these Birkenstocks tend to come unglued right around these sides like that. Definitely not a defect of the shoe. The shoes are fabulous, as I've told you before. Just tends to happen over time. Sand and dirt gets in there and eats away at the glue, so we put a nice little beading of glue on there like that. And this is nice. This customer was referred to me by Naturally Birkenstock on Maui. They are the only providers of Birkenstocks for the island, which is awesome. They have a few stores here on Maui, so they send me their business, which is really awesome. Checking this one has a few. We'll just do that. And these are real leather, so I'm going to go ahead and give them a polish too when they're ready here. So there we go. Give it a little tug, see if it'll pull back, because I don't want him to have to make a second visit, right? At least not on this pair. I like business. You can always send me business. But this here, we'll just give it a little squish, make sure everything's got glue on it. That's awfully nice, like that. There you go. Let that dry. And once I'm done with this and I've put everything together, I'm going to go ahead and put the sole, attach the sole to it, and do a little bit of sanding, and we're on the home stretch, so that's fun. As part of the makeover for this Birkenstock, I'm going to go ahead and apply my polishes. I first start with a cream polish, which is basically a conditioner for leather. If you picture it like a moisturizer, it's like moisturizer for the skin, but with a tint. So I am using this Meltonian, which is a great product. Let's see if I can right now. This is old leather, so I'm going to put this in. It's very, very dry to start off with because he's had it for so long. Held up quite nicely, and just goes right in there. I can feel it just being, the leather's just drinking it up, and it's nice. So do that. Let that set in there for a minute. I consider this a luxury shine. I do a luxury shine for anybody that is getting like a full sole, half sole and heel, something like that. If they spend over $50, I'll go ahead and include this. Typically, just a regular luxury shine is $20, and it includes this conditioner, and it also includes a wax finish. And the conditioner, like I said, it's adding moisture to the shoe along with some color. And now I'll go ahead and demonstrate the wax. So I use Lincoln stain wax. This stuff is lovely. And it will actually, it doesn't really condition the shoe, but it does give it preventative maintenance. So it will allow water to beat up on it and not soak into the leather. It also gives that additional shine. Conditioner will do a shine on its own, but not ever quite as much as the wax. So here we've got this nice wax. Wax is easy to put on. You can do it pretty quickly. And I go ahead and give it a nice buffing with my horsehair brush. I love horsehair. They're really nice, good quality. I sell those in my shop too. But the key to that is really, it's always about friction. It's not about dragging this brush hairs. It's about lifting that shoe up, really get some friction on those shoes, on the leather. Already cleaning up really nicely. He'll be really pleased. It can really make a shoe look completely restored. And it really does kind of restore it. It gives it a nice protection. So here we go. Almost finished. There we are. Now that I've done that, I'm going to apply the cork. I think the cork's nice and dry. I gave it about 15 minutes, and you can always tell when the glue is dry. The glue, a perfect contact cement is as dry as it won't quite stick to you, but it's tacky. So here, it's tacky. It's not just sticking to me and gooey. So I'm going to go ahead and put the two together, and I'm working on this line right here. I'm going to line that up because I'm going to come back in a minute and sand it. There it goes. That's easy. Just did it with my hand. And I love my razor knife, as you all know. I do wear gloves to protect my fingers. And I'm just going to go in here and trim right along the edge of the shoe. Trim that cork up. Just going to give it a nice build. See how easy that was? And now I can just go ahead and sand it. And as I mentioned earlier, I want to sand all of the cork so it looks as consistent and the same as possible, not like a big bold patch. And that's how I look better. He'll appreciate that. I've done the one layer of cork. It's still a little bit low. It's still leaning to the side, so I think if I add one more layer of cork, it should bring me pretty even. So I'm going to do that again. All I do is add a little bit of glue on both sides, like that. And get some glue on here. This is actually scrap from one I just cut off, and it's going to be just big enough, so parfait. And there we go. The other side, what the heck, let's do the other side too. I can always sand it a little bit more flush if I want. There we go. And again, that one was already glued from the last time, so I'll just make sure it's got enough glue on it. And here we are. So let that dry. I've built up the bases of these shoes now. They're much more even, see that? And I have applied glue to the sole. This is my soling pattern, even though it's like a big square. This looks more like it. And I'm going to do the same to the Birkenstock bottom. So here we go. Again, I'm using a nice contact cement. And just getting it all over there so I know that this thing is going to stick. Again, I always recommend doing this in a well-ventilated area. I love contact cement. I'm using an industrial strength contact cement, but I always recommend maybe a little mom and pop shop like Ace Hardware. You can go in there and tell them exactly what you need, which is the contact cement with the brush in the lid. And you can do the same thing I'm doing without buying all of that equipment, right? So that's nice. There we go. There we go. I put a lot in there. It's a pretty old shoe. It's got a lot of holes and stuff in the bottom, so I want to make sure I cover it and get a lot of adhesion when I put this sole together. I don't want to go back in later. So I'm going to do the same thing on the second side. And there we go. So here we go. We finished this Birkenstock. We've got the lift in the back corner here to bring it back up to balance for the client. I put on a shoe polish for it and got a nice Birkenstock sole, and I think we're pretty much ready to go. In some cases, some people like to have a new sole lining, sock lining, they call it on the inside, which we can do as well. But for here, this is it. We're all done. Thanks for joining me. Remember to subscribe to my channel and check out my website at terryedmonds.com and look for the items that you've seen advertised here. Thank you so much, and we'll see you again.